Big break in TV. Welcome to Primetime Bitch.
Good evening, campers, dreamers, and babysitters, and welcome back to Primetime Terrors. Yes, this time we are wrapping up Chucky Season 2 with our final thoughts, basically a big overview on how we feel Season 2 stands with the rest of the crowd, which in this case is only one other season, but just our overall thoughts and feelings. As of recording this, we're about, 2 weeks away from it? Maybe a week?
Yeah.
Wasn't it last Wednesday? And
yes,
we're
it was.
recording
Yes.
this on a Friday. So yeah, it just we got kind of caught up with the holidays, of course. We had some other content coming out on the channel, and then some personal stuff on both our ends with me being sick and Luke having to deal with some personal things. You know, it just didn't happen as soon as we'd like to, but we are here and we are keeping our promise. So let's talk some Chucky Season 2. Luke, you are the one that wanted to do this first. You were a very big proponent of not only Primetime Terrors, this kind of being your baby, and you're the one that said you want to do like a weekly kind of TV thing for horror. And you were the one that got me on the Chucky train. So I'm going to let you take us away here. How do you feel Chucky Season 2 now that you've had some time to breathe and think about it?
Reflecting on season 2 here, and again, only gave each episode one watch as we did it through the course of the first run here of Primetime Terror. So, of course, this will be one that I go back and watch several times over, as I have with season 1 of Chucky. But just reflecting upon it after just this initial run, I'm going to say I'm very pleased with the direction they've taken this and where they ended with it. It maintained that tongue-in-cheek cheekiness a little bit there, but also we had some great kills in this season as well. I think they kind of maintain that course. They know the direction they're going to go in. So overall, I was pleased with it.
Good. That's great. I can say that I was very happy with it as well. I had a lot of stuff I enjoyed. I do have to admit there were a few episodes in there that I got to say I was left a little underwhelmed. It was pretty slow build, as these things tend to be. But in comparison, coming very freshly off of season 1, I was definitely a little taken aback and just kind of wanting us to kind of get into the swing of things. But that is not really how this season was angled. If I had to give it my biggest criticism after sitting with it, I think that my biggest issue would be with how slow it started, with it taking probably about, looking at it here, 3 episodes. Like by episode 3, I was really on board with it. But then you came right back with episode 4, Death on Denial, which is the kind of spin-off Halloween episode that wasn't necessarily, it premiered the week of Halloween, but it was kind of like that murder mystery with all the celebrities episode. I did not really like that episode, and that was definitely for me the weakest of the season, and it really kind of derailed some stuff for me. And then, although I loved the last episode, it was just a little odd, in my opinion, to kind of go that route with it, where it's like the second to last episode kind of wraps up the season, and then the next one almost is just kind of like its own thing again, but then kind of leaves us in a spot of like, okay, we're doing a little bit of setup for season 3. I just thought it was a little different. And those kind of left me feeling like season 2 was a bit disjointed.
Yeah, I understand what you're talking about, and I'll say probably my criticism as well is those first few episodes were a little hot and cold, where you think they're going to get going with that third episode, and they kind of pull a little back with episode 4, and then after that, they kind of got their trajectory down as to how we were building through the rest of the season. So I agree in that sense. I think maybe probably the biggest issue here was, when you look at that episode 4 and it's so much, we're not really dealing with Chucky. We're dealing with Glenn and Glenda and Jennifer Tilly and Tiffany. and all this murder mystery stuff where, I don't necessarily dislike that stuff, but I don't think they should have. What they did a lot in this season seemed like they wanted to tell you a Chucky story, one episode, and then they wanted to tell you a Tiffany Glenda story, another episode, where I think you can just meld those. And I think that's where the pacing works perfect, because that's what they started to do toward the end of this season, where it's like we're getting a little bit of everything. So it's a mixed bag rather than staying, keeping everyone away from each other. I don't think you really needed to do that, and especially like looking at the season as a whole. There was a lot of great stuff closer to the end that, if you kind of cut out a little fat at the beginning and kind of expand upon it throughout the rest of the season, I think you probably would have had a stronger season. And I mean, I'm still pleased with it, but I think there are definitely some story devices that you could have really capitalized on. And then, as you're saying toward the end there, where we kind of wrap everything up in episode 7, and then we get almost a little extra taste of what's to come in that 8th episode. I did like that, just because we're so used to these academic versions of how a season's supposed to go. You're building to that final episode, where they kind of did something a little different. So I did like that oddness of, we didn't know what to expect. I think that's kind of defines Chucky, the franchise in general, where it's really hard to kind of gauge where this is going to go, or what we're going to be expecting. So I did like that almost oddness of it, that different feel, because we don't get that elsewhere. So, I didn't have a problem with that, but I definitely agree with kind of a slow start to the beginning to kind of get us to where we need to be, especially coming off that such a strong ending for season 1. And then kind of, we have to basically come back to a baseline and then build back up. But maybe it was too farther of a baseline to be like, okay, we're ending on such a high note on season 1, and then we're trying to bring it so far back down to start season 2.
Yeah, and I gotta say, like, I enjoyed the last episode, the way they did that. I did. I just think that, to have the season kind of be going, we have a couple episodes and then it's like we take a detour and then we end it almost at the second episode and then take another detour, is interesting. And I agree with you that it's definitely different. It does kind of change it from being less academic, as you said. But, just one of those things where it's like, when those episodes hit, they hit. And I think this is a perfect juxtaposition, because I love what they did with the last episode. Wasn't a huge fan with the 4th. So, I mean, it's kind of, pick your poison there. I know for some people, if you're a big Bride and Seed of Chucky fan, I'm sure that 4th episode meant a lot more to you guys. But for me, again, those are ones that I'm foreign to still. I haven't really seen them. So it's something where I like the stuff that's more reference to, like, Child's Play 1 and 2, which there's a lot of that. I mean, like, I absolutely adore the variations of Chucky that we got throughout this season. I think that we gushed about nearly every one, from buff Chucky to good Chucky, even to the Colonel, I thought was really cool. And I got that ending reveal with the Bell doll, removing all of that, the context and everything, like, just so great. Like, I love all of that.
Yeah. And like looking at this, especially, we have the beauty of hindsight here, and what we would have done if, we had the episodes in front of us and we had creative control, and what we would have decided. And, just like going into this season here where they had so many great things, especially with these different versions of Chucky, I would have loved to see some sort of wrap up, with one of the basic Chucky dolls, on that episode 7. And then we move into Christmas and there was no resolution in terms of killing the Colonel or buff Chucky, or even, a normal Chucky or another doll. And all 3 of them are working together in almost a siege film, Christmas kind of thing, of all 3 of them are breaking into this house to take on the kids, and like working together. I think would have been such a fun little theme, and a extra little, like, something to leave the fans leaving a little bit happy, just because the versions of Chucky absolutely unique to this season. I think that was such a selling point here. I would have loved to have seen that a little more capitalized, like how, it really got us going when we had seen Buff Chucky going, and it's like, oh, we can't wait to see more. It's like I really would have loved to seen them just almost start out of the gate with that type of stuff and work a little bit heavier into trying to tell stories and more interactions there, because when we're seeing all those Chuckies take each other on in certain instances, it's like that was some of the funnest stuff to be had in this season. And then it's like it's never, you're always left wanting more when you have the Colonel versus Buff Chucky, and you're gearing up for this big fight, and then we don't really get that. It's like I really would have loved to see them expand upon that and almost turn all these guys into working with each other, taking on our normal cast of kids.
Yeah, no, that would have been a lot of fun. I like the idea of the siege thing on Christmas. And one thing that I would say that I was mildly disappointed with, but again, it is something where it's just a little bit like this is just preference. So I'm not really going to strike the season for that. Is that good Chucky did end up being bad, and he was kind of faking the whole
Yeah,
time. I know there was an interview with Don Mancini about that, and how he said that no, he was a good Chucky. It's just that the bad kind of bled through. So if I have to throw any criticism to that, I didn't really pick that up. It kind of felt more like he was deceiving them.
okay,
So I mean, like, if there's anything for me that I could throw criticism on that, there's that. But overall, the concept of them turning one of them good and having him work with them and fight the other Chuckies, I absolutely adored that. I really would have loved it. Might be the Guardians of the Galaxy effect for me, where it's like I like having these oddball little characters with like our groups. So it's kind of one of those things where I'm like, I would have loved to have seen him survive and maybe even become a part of the crew for another season. Where it's
yeah,
just like, yeah, we have a good guy doll that works with us, and he is a good guy, and he's actually on our side for a little while longer, and then maybe in another season he has that kind of back and forth effect.
yeah.
Because I just love the dynamic. I thought that they maybe pulled their punch a little too early, having him turn bad this season.
Yeah.
And but that's again personal preference. So it's like I can't hate the show. I love the idea. I guess it's just more of a complimentary thing for me to say I wish they would have done it longer.
No, yeah, I'm in absolute agreement with you there. Again, the beauty of hindsight and us deciding on where we would have taken this season, because there are so many great things in here, and it seems like almost, I don't know, maybe 8 episodes was a little not too much. You know what I mean? Where it's like maybe we should have gotten 10, maybe just
Yeah.
to expand upon a little bit extra here, just because there were so many great themes. They took this in a lot of different ways. Like if we would have started. The season here and asking me where we were going to go with this, I never really would have anticipated what we were going to get here and just how they were able to play with these themes in Chucky. And like you were saying, kind of maybe keep around the good Chucky for a little bit longer. I think that would have been a lot of fun. I did pick up on that. I felt like he had regressed in terms of after the kind of sitting him down and showing him all the graphic violence and stuff, and desensitizing him toward that type of stuff, and just brainwashing him into what they into this good guy. I think that would have been very interesting, especially where they're playing with these themes of this is the last Chucky doll, so once we kill him, Charles Lee Ray's gone forever. I really would have loved to have them maybe almost think that they had killed them all, and then good Chucky was gone, but someone was actually hiding him, almost leading into the next season of you know, no, he regresses, Charles Lee Ray's back, and all this other stuff. I think would have been another interesting twist here. But again, I give him props for even bringing these ideas to the forefront, because I would have never been here to critique these ideas and say, oh, we could have gotten more out of them, because this is such a unique way to take this franchise.
It is, and I think that we can both agree that the series has been a really great way for this franchise to continue on. I feel like I enjoy this quite a bit. I'm very excited for a season 3. Um, if we're getting down to it, favorite episodes of the season. If I had to say my top favorite episode, I'm going with episode 7. He is risen indeed. It's the one where Buff Chucky and Good Chucky have the fight right at the beginning, and we see. Wait, is that the one? Maybe I'm getting them confused here.
I think you might be getting them confused. I
Okay,
feel
then
like
it's
that helps.
episode. Is it Doll on? It's Doll on Doll.
Okay.
So it's yeah, Doll on Doll is my favorite. It's the one where Buff Chucky and Good Chucky have a fight at the beginning, and then we kind of lead into it with the crescendo of finding Andy in the forest.
Yes.
I thought that was a really solid episode. I liked that a lot. And then I guess I'd say probably everything after that, those last four for me, really worked. I like a lot of I like all of those. And then easily a second follow up for me was probably going to the chapel. And then I'd say He Is Risen.
Yeah. And for me, I don't have the episode list in front of me. I mean, episode 7 is such a strong episode. Obviously, it's a culmination of so many things. So, I mean, that I feel like that should be a given for a lot of people. One of those for me, yeah, through the introduction of Buff Chucky, because that really had me asking a lot of different questions and wondering where we were going with this, because that was the big kind of, oh, well, there's a different version of Chucky here, and we weren't, the way they had concealed him, plus that kill of him punching right through. I'm forgetting
The
the one
bully's
kid's
name.
name. Yeah, I think that was very interesting. So the kind of bringing that idea out there really, again, got me going for season 2. Really set the course here and been like, okay, there's a lot here to play with. So I'd probably have to go that episode 3. I don't know the name of it, but
It was Hail Mary.
Hail Mary. I think that was a great one. And then I'm a fan of episode 8 just because it is that odd occurrence. It's a different
Mhm.
feel. Again, Christmas themed. You can't go wrong there either. So I'm gonna say that's another strong episode for me.
Absolutely. And I do love episode 8 myself. It's just one of those things too, where it's just like thinking it through. I just remember because that was the week that you were having your baby. So I remember that I had to solo that one, and I was just so like blown away and on board with that episode again, because I think that episode probably sticks in my mind the most again because it does follow up my least favorite episode.
Yeah.
So, you have that kind of juxtaposition there. But yeah, easily, the easy follow up for me there is episode 7 too. I think like all the stuff going down in there, going to the chapel, with Devon Sawa
Perfect kill.
exploding,
Yeah.
and all of that crazy shit going on. Like you said, that all just kind of goes insane. Oh, I'm sorry. Devon Sawa, does he explode and go into the chapel?
Is that episode 7?
That might be episode 6. He has risen, right?
No, I think that's
No, you're right.
episode
Going to the chapel. Yeah, the
Yeah.
exorcism. My bad. Yeah, sorry. Just everything's kind of like we said, blending together after a little while here. But yeah, I definitely think that Chucky is really going strong. I'm excited to see a season 3. I'm excited to see where they take it next. I really love Devon Sawa's usage here throughout the series of having all these
Phenomenal.
multiple roles. Again, if I had to throw any critique towards that, I just felt like for a lot of the season until the end there, he was a little underused.
Yeah.
And maybe
Especially how utilized in the first season.
yeah, and maybe the if I had to throw one more critique at it, I'd say the setting of the school was maybe a bit underused. I thought that it was going to be so much
Yeah.
more imperative to the season, but like you said, with us kind of bouncing back and forth episode by episode, it didn't feel like it really affected our characters that much.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I still loved it. I still think it's very much worth a watch, and
Yeah.
I'm also really looking forward to season 3.
Yeah, and for me, again, a lot of great stuff going on this season. I think the biggest issue was we didn't get enough time with a lot of the things that they had brought to the table here. But big props for bringing this stuff even to the table for us to talk about. I'm excited to see where Devon Sawa goes. I love his addition to this franchise. I mean, kind of redefining what the actors associated with. I mean, Idle Hands, Final Destination, all these things like that, where it's like that's what you think when you think Devon Sawa. And now we've added Chucky to the list. I cannot wait to see what he does in season 3. I'm intrigued to see where they're going to bring him back. I really hope he does get a bigger part because he's a pleasure to have on screen anytime. His performances are always great. I mean, a lot of great tributes this episode or this season.
Your big break in TV.
Sorry about that. I don't know why that happened. I would run it back to you talking about Devon Sawa.
I love that they're kind of redefining what the actor's known for. You know, Final Destination, Idle Hands, all this stuff. Now we can add Chucky to the list. So I'm excited to see where he's going to go, what they're going to do with him, how they're going to utilize him. Because I mean, acting wise, always a pleasure to have on screen. And then plus a lot of great tributes this season. Just a little nods to other films. I mean, Apocalypse Now, obviously. So a lot of fun to be had in season 2. Was something that makes me eager for season 3. I think as we sit here, it hasn't been renewed yet. I think I had seen something on Twitter. Everyone was kind of clamoring for it. But we haven't gotten that confirmation yet. I really hope there's going to be a season 3. I don't see why there wouldn't be after the showing that they've had in season 2. So I'm here for it. I'm anticipating it, and I can't wait to see the bring.
I agree with you 100%. But alrighty, guys, that's going to wrap us up here for our conversation on Chucky season 2. Definitely high marks from both Luke and I here. Even with our mild criticisms, I don't think that they're anything to really worry about. If you are a Chucky fan, you're going to love this. If you are kind of on the outside and you haven't checked out the series yet, definitely go back and check out season 1. I think as it stands for me right now, I think season 1 edges out season 2 just a little bit for me. It could be just the way that I watched it, in the sense of just how, I was able to binge watch everything all in like a couple of days, as opposed to having to wait week by week. But again, I also just think that was a little bit of a simpler story they were telling too.
Yeah.
So it does have those luxuries, but that does, again, season 2 for me, still very strong.
Yeah. And I think it's an odd occurrence too, because from season 1, I do think edges out season 2 just because maybe a more cohesive story to be told. Kind of the pacing is pretty natural and flowing throughout. And I think they made use of every character and the entire setting. But it's odd because I also feel like season 2, with the potential that was brought, should be the stronger season. It's just like they didn't make the most of it, which isn't it's only a minor critique. I mean, it's still a great season to watch. It's just like what they brought here. I really felt like, if they had made more use of some of the things that they had brought, this would have been just probably a knock out of the park home run with everything that they had on the table here. But season 1 kind of edges it out, but season 2 is still strong.
Absolutely. But alrighty, guys, again, that wraps us up here for Chucky season 2. Let us know what you thought down below. And of course, check out our social media at SplattercastPod on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. And keep up with us here on the channel. If you have not done it yet, please hit that subscribe button. We're getting very close to 500 subscribers, just a few away. And we'd really, really love to get there before Christmas. That'd be an excellent Christmas gift to us. And then, of course, we've got a lot of great content coming down the pipeline for you. Lots of cool stuff coming up, even just this upcoming week. So definitely keep an eye out for us. And definitely, again, if you haven't done it already, hit that subscribe button. But other than that, Luke, you got anything for him?
Nope. Stay tuned. A lot of great stuff coming down the aisle, as they say. And it's going to get frightful here on the channel.
Alrighty. So without further ado, I am Dylan Newell.
And I'm Luke Janesco.
And remember, stay scared.